and welcome to the third meeting of the FAC Industry Partnerships Subcommittee meeting. I'm Stephanie Hardison, the Deputy Designated Federal Officer, along with the Designated Federal Officer, Mr. Boris Arathia. Boris, you have any words?
Hey, welcome back, everybody. Happy New Year. Good to see you all. Back to you.
All right. We'd like to begin this meeting by thanking everyone for their time and participation, and also those who helped bring this meeting together. We would just want to mention that this is a live virtual public meeting. Today's event is being recorded and will be posted to our website with relevant meeting materials. I'd like to share with the public listeners and participants that there will be time for relevant comments or statements towards the end of this meeting. We will now open the third meeting of the Industry Partnership Subcommittee by taking roll. Farad.
Present.
Denise. I think I saw Denise. I see her. All right. Gail. All right. Nicole. I am
present.
All right. Susan. Mamie.
Present.
Daryl. Kristen.
Present.
Stacy. Nigel.
Present.
Keith. David.
Present.
And Kimberly.
Present.
All right. All right. Well, roll has been called and taken. Thank you. I'll now turn this over to the chairpersons of the subcommittee.
Great. Thank you, Stephanie. Thanks everybody for getting on, and Happy New Year to everyone. Looking forward to today's session. We've got a little bit of work ahead of us, so I hope everybody's got their work shoes on, ready to go. Really what we want to focus on is kind of getting through some of what I would call the first steps of refining, finalizing our mission statement, and then really working on sorting through our ideas of what we want to focus on, categorizing those ideas, and beginning the process of refining those. And we'll work on turning those refinements into recommendations, as we move forward. Just a reminder for everyone, we have the full committee meeting on January 12th. And so we are working towards being able to articulate our top areas of focus going forward and things we would like to work on as a committee. We've got the agenda here. Farad, any other opening comments before we go through the agenda?
No. This is, as you said, running shoes. I think working fingers too, right? We want to make sure people get things rolling. We really need everyone's support in this work. Thank you.
Great. Yeah, great. Okay. So we're going to really hammer out the mission statement and these key priorities today. We're going to be leveraging an interactive tool. We will take some time, some learning time, to walk people through, making sure they're able to log on and get acclimated with the tool. As Stephanie mentioned, we will open it up for input and public comment towards the end of the session as we go forward. So with that being said, I think we're going to go ahead and get started unless anyone else has any opening comments for the team. Great. So as Boris starts to share his screen, which he's doing now, he's going to put a link in the chat for you. This will take you to what's called a Google Jamboard. We'll be using this throughout our work. We used it yesterday in a subcommittee, and it went really well. We actually had a few laughs along the way. You need to leverage your GSA account for this. So you need to log in with your GSA account. So what we'd like to do is take a few minutes and let folks go ahead and get on board so that you can participate. If anyone is having trouble, if you raise your hand via Zoom, we can help you through that. I see Boris is in, Kimberly White is in, Farad is in, Stephanie is in, Nicole is in, and Gail is in. Gail, you're a pro now, right?
Oh, yeah, right.
I don't know if I'm going to be blocked by the airport or not from getting in.
Okay,
So hi, this is Daryl McKissick, and how do I get in again?
you should have a link in the chat on the Zoom meeting.
Oh, okay.
If you, yep, and if you can click on that, it should take you in. You do have to log in with the GSA account.
Okay, I think I'm Daryl. Okay,
Okay, I see Nigel. Mamie's in. Okay, great.
You may have to go on without me until I get the IT people to unblock me.
Okay. Now, Denise, one of the
New
things you can,
computer, new,
it happens, yeah, but
New
you'll be able
job.
to see, you'll be able to see the screen.
Okay.
And then when we start moving stickies around and things, you can just voice it, say, hey, I
Okay,
want
perfect.
13 moved over, and we can help facilitate that.
Perfect,
And you can also type in the chat your thoughts, and then we can make a sticky for you. And put it in.
perfect.
Yep.
I may have to do the same thing because I'm not with my IT people. And I
Okay.
don't know what's going on. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, we got quite a few in, and we'll work with everyone. And like I said, as we get better at this, I think it's really going to help with collaboration and engagement, which is great. So what I wanted to do was start with the mission statement. And just to refresh everybody, we as a team had taken what was in the Federal Register, which is this up top here from the federal, this is from the Federal Register. And then from that, we've been working on crafting a mission statement by people inputting into the Google Docs. And we really, I took it today and I refined it, and it's really down to two very similar. So hopefully you can see as I draw the line across the screen. Yep, okay. And the good news for us as a group is that the beginning is the same for both mission state, both versions. So the way I think we'd work through this is we're going to go through the beginning, the middle, and the end. And there's really just some small nuances. And I think if we can just kind of refine this, agree on language, we can move on. I think we're finally getting there. So with that, I'd ask you to just take a minute and read through both of these. I want to thank everybody that went in and added their input. And then we're going to have a quick discussion about refining these down into one, whether we want to combine them, want to wordsmith just a little bit, and we'll work through how we can do that. So I'm just going to be quiet for a few minutes and let people read through them.
I'm assuming you all can see my screen, just to double check here. Okay.
Oh, somebody's, hey, Mamie, you're getting in there. You're getting bold. I love it.
No.
It's all good. So
No,
let's go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, I had to zoom in to see this and then.
Oh, yeah, very good. Yeah, we can zoom that out a little more.
Okay.
So, good point there. Thanks for reminding me. So I think, did everyone have a chance to read? The beginnings are the same, right? So, and, I guess any further discussion on the beginning?
I just had just a small question. Both of them say initial recommendations. Is there a reason that we put initial, that we plan on issuing 2 sets of recommendations, or did we just want to say recommendations? So that was my only question there.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think some of the thinking was we didn't want to, and I'm open, but we didn't want to get hung up on that the initial recommendations are the final, like this was going to evolve over time, right? With 2-3 year commitments by people. So it kind of shooting for the beginning of the meeting, but I'm open to recommendations. I think it's a good pickup.
Yeah, I think so.
Probably,
I think it's a good pickup too, because I'm not sure how many times we're going to come back and revisit this, Kristen. Kimberly, I think that's a great idea. I just think we'll be doing so much work in the work that coming back to this work may seem quote unquote remedial for us. So I'm not pushing back, but I think that's a great catch.
I think it's great. So
I think
Yes.
the initial thought around that the word was because I think we were asked for a rather large list of variety of options, right? So it could be regulatory, it could be legislative, it could be, or whatever it may be that we're doing. So it could be again, a consistently evolving process. But I think Farhad makes a good point. Like the recommendation, and then how we build a structure of how to implement that, how to provide, the rubber hits the road. I think that doesn't necessarily require another set of recommendations.
Yeah, and I guess that's why I was thinking, that's why the initial caught me, because I was thinking that when we're providing those recommendations, we would be able to say that this is our initial set of recommendations associated with this. They will be evolving to X, Y, or Z. And I was thinking, like Farhad was saying, that we're probably not going to come back to this set. And I just don't want anyone to think that this is like the initial sets and there are no more, or that it will be a long time before we come back with any more additional recommendations.
Okay.
yeah, I think it's cleaner without it. I think I'm the one who put it in there actually, but I think it was thinking more like to get us moving, like, okay, let's get started on some, but I think we all get it now that this will evolve, and recommendations may go very deep. Some may be shallow and kind of take on a life of their own, like GSA may take it and run with that recommendation, right? And then we'll be focusing on other things. So I'll go ahead and take it out, and I'm going to go ahead and actually just, Forrest, I'm going to whack out this box that you're in, because I think we all agree we have a beginning. Any
How about
further
this?
comment?
Yeah, I was going to say, make sure is there anyone who disagrees with that? Okay, good. I'm sorry, Kristen.
No, that's fine. Yeah, I was going to ask for any further comment on that before we move forward. So in the middle, we had and Nigel, thank you. Nigel went in there and did a lot of work, so I appreciate that. But we kind of came up with this language of small, diverse, underutilized businesses and innovate new entrants. So it would kind of read that we're going to make recommendations on how best to identify, engage, and equip small, diverse, underutilized businesses and innovative new entrants. And then Nigel kind of added some more context to this: a broader audience of small, mid-sized, underutilized, and innovative new entrants to the federal marketplace. So they're very similar. I like the word, I'm just going to put my own, Nigel, I like the term broader, because it kind of, it opened my mind to be thinking about finding new businesses and things like that. But I'd like to hear from the group. Any comment or discussion here? Yeah, go ahead.
So this is Daryl, and I totally agree with you on the broader audience, that it casts a larger net. And a lot of times what happens to mid-sized firms is that they're lost in a black hole, because all of these programs are, for small and diverse firms, but mid-sized firms need help too. And so I like that we call that out, mid-sized firms.
Okay, great.
Hey, Nigel, I like your work on this too. You did some really good work and thoughtfulness in it. And one of the things I thought about before this meeting is they're so similar. Could we say a broader audience to include diverse, small, mid-size, like, like open it up to be inclusive, like not just of, but to include that, and then add the word diverse from the top place, because you capture the rest of those words, I think, in the second. You get what I mean? It's like a blending. I'm not saying I'm right. It's a democracy. So that's what I'm just asking.
Yeah, I really
I
like
like it.
that too, Farad. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Nigel.
No, go ahead.
I really like that approach too. I was thinking along the exact same lines, that to combine a little bit of that top and make it a little bit broader. So it's like a broader, diverse audience of small, medium, underutilized. And I was actually thinking and underrepresented, because I wasn't sure if diverse or underutilized actually captured underrepresented as well. And then the only other tweak I was seeing at the bottom was it says "and innovative new entrants." And so I wasn't sure if the way that the sentence is written now, it seems like it's only focused on new entrants, where I know it's not focused just on new entrants because of where like the and comma are.
Okay, so let's, Kimberly, hold those thoughts, because I want to make sure I capture the first part. So what I'm doing is I'm just recreating a third version, which will take in people's comments. So I want to make sure I get the first part of that. So we like to engage and equip a broader audience, and then we want to include, is that, did I hear that correctly? I want to make sure I capture that first part.
Yeah, I think, and let me make sure I'm not getting Farad's comments, mixed up with mine. But I think we were both saying a broader, diverse audience, like to include small, mid-sized, underutilized, and underrepresented. I've added underrepresented to like that first part. And I wasn't sure if we needed the word businesses there. The only thing about the word businesses or entities is that at the top, it seems to be both, where we're talking about existing and new entrants, where the bottom sentence as it's written, it seems like it's only focused on new entrants, which I don't think that's our intent.
So I was struggling with this for a little bit, because that was intent versus what I wanted to say versus how to say it, which is my struggle. But the idea was GSA specifically pointed out their challenge in reaching certain size business, small and mid-sized business to get it, right? There's those who are already in, I guess, the green economy, but are not fully utilized to their fullest, extent. And then there's always, how do we bring in new ideas and new innovations to address climate change, sustainability, and so forth. So I was trying to address all of those pieces in that language, but I like the including a broader audience, including, so it's more inclusive, like Farad was saying. But how to wordsmith this, I'm at a loss with regards to how to address those who are already in industry, but may not be, or maybe underrepresented, but also bringing in new innovative ideas and new, entrants to the federal marketplace that may have a new, better mousetrap or a better widget. And to
Could we
offer.
say something like
Oh.
existing and new?
Oh my goodness. So this is Daryl, and I just have a problem with to include, because I think it just waters it down. That's always the case. It's like, if it's to include, and what did you already have where to start with? The word broader is strong enough. It's already saying it's inclusive. When you say to include, it eludes you to think that there's already some other group there, and then we're gonna include this group. Like this group is an add-on, just a dangling something out here that we're including. I just like it the way it is.
Okay, I'm pulling these two up together just to help see, hopefully, and I'm trying to make it a little bigger so it's visually easier to see. This is good engagement. I'm so excited. Can't tell you all how excited I am. So let's kind of revisit this and take a look at it. So what I'm hearing is everybody likes broader, which is good.
This
Somebody
is
speaking.
Mamie.
Yeah, go ahead, Mamie.
what about a broader audience inclusive of? Instead of including inclusive, would that be stronger there? Would that work?
So what if you said in it specifically instead of to include, which is putting the spotlight on those firms? It's not just like an add-on. To me, and to include is like, it's just an afterthought. So you say a broader audience of,
So
well,
I was saying change in to include to inclusive of you.
it's
You
the
got
same
the
thing.
afterthought
It's
as well.
exactly the same thing. It's
It's
like,
the same thing.
it's
Okay.
the same thing, we're only talking about those firms, right? We're not talking about any additional firms. So it's specifically those firms is what I'm saying instead of include. I know inclusion is a big word in diversity, right? But this is already capturing inclusion and what it's saying with a broader, diverse audience. That's already inclusion. And so when you try to add in the word include or inclusion or inclusive of, to me, it's like an add, it sounds like an add-on, and it's not the genesis of what we're trying to do.
Not the focus.
It's not the focus. So if you say specifically, that's just adding to the focus. So we have, broader, diverse audience specifically for small, mid-sized firms. If you want to add something, I just don't even know that we need to add another word there.
I think from what I heard from the last two sessions, though, was that there seemed to be an importance around making sure that the small, mid-sized, underutilized, underserved, that segment of the industry pool is most addressed with our recommendations, just like based on the speakers last week. So I think that's why those words are being called out there.
Specifically is a higher calling.
Specifically instead of including.
It's like, I'm just adding. Specifically is like,
Okay.
it's more of a focus. We specifically want to do this.
Including sounds more afterthought-ish.
Thank you, yes.
Or focused.
Yeah, focusing on small,
Yeah, could you
mid-size.
say of, like, could you just take including out where, because I'm just thinking about the first half of our sentence, that we're engaged and equipped a broader, diverse audience of small, mid-sized, underutilized. And like I said, I don't want to forget underrepresented there, businesses and innovative new entrants to the federal marketplace. So maybe it's just of, or yeah.
Yeah, I think it's almost the one that's down on the bottom right.
But
Yeah,
can I-
also
Except
default-
that the diverse word is missing out of that one.
But
Yeah.
broader audiences should also include it. We may highlight these, but remember that the intent is when you talk about diversity, you're also considering things like regional diversity that strengthens your supply chain. If a hurricane hits, the Southeast, you can still rely on resources and supplies and so forth from other parts of the country. So while we are highlighting this because that's what the speaker highlighted, that they're having a difficult time reaching, that diverse audience, the inclusiveness of it, I think is different from a specific focus, right? Because specific focus means you're very, very targeted, where on the other side, we're saying the challenge that they're having is they don't have enough supply chain diversity in order to have the resilience that they're looking for. So that means you're going to need companies of various sizes, various capacity levels, various backgrounds and socioeconomic and all those different audiences, but also regional, right? So I really prefer if we did the inclusiveness because it gives flexibility while still highlighting the importance of small, mid-sized, underserved, underutilized entities.
Yeah, and I think you make a really good point, Nigel, because while this is where we're focusing on based on what we heard from previous speakers, this doesn't rule out like a large business that may not be captured here, they're regional somewhere else, right? And this technically seems like it cuts them out of our focus and recommendations.
Right. The idea is to bring more options to the table and more flexibility to the government in order to meet those climate change and sustainability goals in such a way that we are not doing what has traditionally done, which is exclude smaller, mid-sized, and all the other diverse entities.
And you just said it, that's what the whole point is. I think the word broader, it indicates that there's going to be, you want to do something different than what has been traditionally done. Because traditionally doing it has not included a broader suite of other firms. It's the same old companies over and over again. So just using the word broader to me is inclusive. Means you want to include more firms. And then we specifically lay it out with small, medium, and underutilized businesses.
I mean, is it too simple to say broader and more diverse? Is that too simple? Because we're getting pretty wordy also, right? So just some thoughts there.
I think I love the conversation, and the intent is so pure, right? But maybe, and I'm asking Daryl for a friendly amendment, a broader and diverse audience. I mean, because I think we may cover some of Nigel's comments when he talked around regionalism. But saying when you say broader, diverse, maybe we can say a broader and diverse audience, because there is some truth that some of these groups have not been included based on what we heard in our last discussion. So I do understand the wordsmithing of specifically and including. So I'm not even going there because I have a finance degree. I can't do words well. But I do believe that saying a broader and diverse audience may capture that. So I'm asking Daryl, does that sound like a friendly amendment that can maybe be accepted?
So yeah, when you can say, yeah, more diverse, but I mean, more is like more another word. I would just say a broader and diverse audience.
Yeah, that's what I said, I said a broader.
Yeah, I had word in there. Go ahead, guys, keep going. I'm trying to capture as you're talking.
Okay,
So
yeah.
a broader and diverse audience.
Yeah.
Do we want to keep the clarifying comments?
I can't speak to that. Just that first part of broader and diverse is where I'm at.
Okay.
And
Yeah, I like retaining the diverse too, because I think it gets at a lot of things, including actual diversity that may not come through with just the word underutilized, because anyone who's not utilized is underutilized. But I didn't want to lose, I wouldn't want to lose the diverse thread.
I see David's got his hand in the corner so quiet. And I know that Nicole had posted something. I just want to make sure we're aware of both of those as well.
Yeah, are you able to review the chats then, Farad, and bring them into the broader group? That'd be great.
So
I'm just not able to.
Yeah,
go ahead, David.
All right, thank you. I have a question. This is more of a term of art. So I'm kind of pondering the use of the word audience. Is that the correct term of art to use the cohort or array of organizations you want to capture? I think of audience as more of a kind of a one-way conversation, as they're kind of not necessarily passive, but I'm just wondering if there's another word we could use.
Supplier pool.
Liars.
I was looking for a one-word substitution, but trying to keep the words down. And maybe it's the term of art. I was just it's just kind of pondering in my head about that.
Yeah, no, I agree, David. I thought, I'm not sure that word resonates with what we're doing, but we can.
And the other thing is, and maybe there's an assumption. So the innovative is kind of the one that, to me, that kind of hangs out as a little bit different. Is there an assumption or not an assumption that more diversity is inherently more innovative because they will bring ideas and points of view that have never been considered? Is that kind of what we're talking about? Or are we talking about something different?
Yeah, I think we're talking about two things, and that's why I said a broader and diverse, because while diversity does innately bring you intentional innovation, there may be innovative people who are new entrants in a market space that will fit that category as well. I think that was the intent of Nigel, but you'd have to ask Nigel.
Again, I don't have a problem with it. It just kind of struck me as a bit different than the rest, and that's fine. I just wanted to hear others' views on that, and I appreciate them. Thanks.
I'm gonna throw this out there. What does, because broader sounds to me like some of the other language I see meaningful, So what does broader mean? If you are outside looking in, what does broader mean to the general public? Broader. I'm just struggling with that. What do you
I
actually
think
think?
different, new, I think some of the discussion was around, different companies, newer companies, new innovation, new technology companies, not the same. And so somebody used the term casting a wider net, be more creative and going out and finding out and engaging with all sorts of companies.
Right, and I know we know that, but the reader, do they really understand broader? But I just threw it out there, not to ponder on. We could just keep moving forward.
Hey, Jeff, do you want to chime in a little bit? I thought you have some thoughts to share with the group.
I did. Thank you, Boris. I think you've had a good conversation here. You've recognized GSA, like many agencies, is looking to expand the industry base, looking to bring in new innovative companies that are going to maybe have not dealt in the acquisition system, are going to bring in new energy, new ideas. But if I can maybe ask you to move the conversation in a slightly different direction, I'm really looking for thoughts. What are the key messages? How do we help curate content? How do we help them focus on what they need to know and understand? There is a mountain of material there, and I don't know that at this moment we, GSA, know how to pull that together into clear, coherent messaging for the industry partner base. So I'd love your thoughts on, we can work on identifying the right partners, but what are we saying to them? How do we reach them? How do we reach their decision makers? How do we help them make some of the internal investment decisions? Anything in that general sphere would be really helpful.
Okay. And that might kind of fall into the next group where we have all the recommendations and buckets. I'm just thinking, I think some of this is getting lost in the discussion. So like in the beginning, how best to identify, engage, and equip. So Jeff, I think some of your comments fall there, like equip is like, what information do they need, right? That type of thing. Like how will GSA, what recommendations can we make to help do that?
Yeah, exactly.
And then we've got a whole list of priorities. Yeah, so I think that's what engage kind of means. Like how to engage and equip is like, what do people need in order to participate in the federal marketplace? And if there's going to be sustainability and climate risk goals and targets put on them, they need to understand those. And that's where we'll get into the recommendations. From a time perspective, though, for the group, we've got a lot of work to do on priorities. So it sounds like we're somewhere between these two boxes. So I'd like to just kind of try and let's have a little bit more dialogue. And if we can't finish it today, we'll put these two into the Word document and we can go in and finalize that. So what I heard, and I want to make sure we capture, is broader and diverse. We'll take a look at audience, and then, the rest of it is clarifying, which helps people understand what do we mean by broader and diverse. So the small, mid-sized, underutilized, underrepresented, and I think as well as, innovative new entrants. And I think it's just a wordsmith here, Nigel, but I think this word too should be in. When you put the whole sentence together, it kind of would flow better. So I guess really for the group, I mean, I think the clarifiers are kind of important here to kind of give people some context around what do we mean by broader and diverse. I think it contextualizes it. So I'm kind of for keeping those in. I'd like to hear do people feel this more general statement is better, or should we go with the more specific? Adding in and diverse, sorry.
I like it honestly without the diverse, and just the broader audience says it all. That we're going outside of tradition and going to a broader audience, which is specifically what we name afterwards.
Okay. I think there are, I agree with that, but I think there's also a specific, not only did GSA highlight this, the fact that they had difficulty reaching certain businesses in order to meet goals, there's still the environmental justice, equity, and inclusion piece of this, which is how do you bring those businesses that have not been included in certain industries in the past, certain high-tech innovative industries like green technology and so forth, bring them to the table as well, because that's also something that strengthens the supply chain. The more companies you have participating in various aspects of green industry, the more flexibility you have as a government entity to find different suppliers, whether it's regional, socioeconomic, bringing smaller, more innovative ones, mid-sized firms, large-sized firms. So I think if we don't have very specific goals, it's very difficult to have metrics, performance metrics, achievement, reporting, and accountability for achieving those goals. That was the intent behind the specificity there.
Okay. Well, what I'm going to do is we're going to save two versions. One is very specific and one is broad, and we will lay them out in the sentence together, and folks can take a look at them. Okay, and then lastly, I'll ask you guys to take a look at the ending. The ending was pretty similar. It's a little wordy on both, but it was about, so we're going to make recommendations that identify, engage, and equip who. We have two statements. To do what? To successfully, what we wanted to kind of convey here was that we want them to thrive in the federal marketplace, but we also want them to be drivers of sustainability and climate goals and targets. That's kind of the spirit of the ending. So it's thrive and, support the cause kind of thing. And I think I confused these up here. So I think we will come back to this. I'm going to table this discussion. I think we should table this so that we can move on to some of the priorities. But with that, let me just see, is anybody adverse to tabling this and moving forward? All right, but good work. It's hard work, to drive it down. And I think some distance will help us with bubbling it, letting it kind of simmer like a sauce. So what I commit is I'll get this cleaned up in a Word document, send out the link to everyone afterwards, and we can wordsmith it a little bit more, and then crank that out and get that done. Okay. So the next thing we're going to focus on, and this is a lot of work. So if you are in the Jamboard, you should be able to zoom in and out. Boris, you're going to help us with zooming in and out because these are hard to read.
Yep, I'll
What
do
we
that.
wanted to do first was just kind of, yeah, because these can be a little tough. What we want to do is we took all the stickies from initial, and then we took the input that you put into the Google Doc. Nigel, Jamboard only lets you put so many words into a sticky, so I had to wordsmith yours down a little bit, but I hope I caught the essence of them.
That's
And now
fine.
I've lost where they are, but I think one was this one, 21, expanding the supplier base, and then one was on measures and compliance and connecting maturity with resources. So what we thought we'd do is we'd spend a little bit of a time just sorting these, putting those that are similar together. And the way we can do this is there's two different ways. One, we can drag the stickies over each other, and then people can call out or put in the chat what they think. So for example, I'll give you a good example. Number 18 and number 5 are very similar. These were put into the Google Doc. I put one in. It was kind of a follow-up from the pilot that the presenters talked about that was done almost 10 years ago. And I was left kind of like, oh, I'd like to know more about why that didn't work, or why aren't we doing another pilot? And maybe that might be one of our recommendations, but I don't think we have enough information. And then I think, Denise, you put in a very similar comment. So, these two are very similar, so we can kind of group those together. And as we clear the board out, we can work on stacking them. But I would say, go ahead, and if you think us are similar, you can either grab and move, or you can let us know which ones we think go together, and we'll start to move these around. And Boris and I will try and keep up with everybody.
And this Jamboard is pretty intuitive, so you can just click and drag boxes around. Take some time to read, and I can go in and zoom in these a little more, if that will help.
Yeah, and don't be shy. Play around with it. That's how you.
Yeah, so if you have access to it, and don't get confused between my screen and your screen, because sometimes that's a little confusing. So I'm sharing my screen. If you are in the document, you're gonna move things around, not on my screen, but actually on your screen. So that makes sense.
So are we stacking them?
Right.
If they are very similar.
Yeah, if you want to move them.
Mhm.
Yep.
I
Yeah,
mean,
this
are
is
we
just
And
like
then
a
we'll just
whiteboard.
rearrange.
Mhm.
so we're stacking them horizontally, right?
Or just
mean,
kind of put them on top of each other. We're going to have to have to rearrange as people start stacking.
Yeah. Let me know if you want me to zoom in on any particular area. Right now, I just zoomed out so you can see how the stickers are getting moved. You can actually have some fun with this. You're in here.
Yeah, I don't know if we have any former basketball players. We start boxing each other out. And then we can, some of them, if they get hard to see, we'll move them out of stacks as we build stacks.
I see that most of you were able to get in the document.
Yeah, this is a good group. They got in fast. It's hard for me to see the chat because I'm on my phone for the Zoom, but I don't know if we have anybody putting stuff in the chat. No, we looked
No,
good
we have
there.
nobody. I'm watching the chat, Kristen. No one's
Hey,
in there.
great, thanks. Thanks.
Yeah, we had 2 hands the last time, but yeah, thank you. Thank you, Stephanie.
Okay, now I know we had another one on metrics. So number 25, there's another metrics one. If it fits, where is the other metrics?
Yeah, I was looking for that one too, Kristen. I thought there was another metrics one too in the document, but I don't see it here.
Yeah, we definitely
think
put
that-
it in there because Nigel put it in and I wordsmithed it for him, but now I can't find it. Did I delete it?
I think 23 and 25 are kind of similar in ways. You need metrics to assess maturity.
Oh, there it is. Yeah. Thank you. It got stacked under.
Mhm.
Is this supposed to be stacked under here? I think these two go together.
Yeah.
Okay, and then we'll try and group them. So I see a big stack kind of gathering here in the middle. Some of these, like if they don't have anything stacked with them, I'm just moving them to the left. I'm gonna draw some circles so we make sure. I'm gonna just, this is a stack, I'm assuming. Over here. And it looks like these three are stacked for us, 4, 26, and
Yeah, they all say outreach stuff. That's
Okay.
keyword.
but this one, 21's not part of that.
I don't believe so.
Okay, so this would be its own little stack here. Yep, just gonna. Okay. This is around outreach. We're gonna kind of categorize these after. Okay, you guys help me out here. What other stacks do we have?
I think you have a stack in the first column of the first vertical. The stack under based. Yeah.
I don't know if that's a stack or if those are just random ones.
Well, I'll put
I
two.
think 13 and 10. Go ahead.
Yeah, I put 2 of them over there because I thought they were relevant because you would evaluate, then examine why the reduction, and then make sure you utilize. So I don't know if that's the right way, but
Yeah, they seem related to me too, right? Because it's like there's challenges for small businesses for 12. And then number 1 is, why is there a reduction in the number of contractors that are interested? So to me, they seem like they go together too.
Okay. And then I think 13 and 10 kind of go together, talking about larger working with smaller. Oh, I don't know. 13 is kind of one we had taken off the board last week, so I'll come back to that. I thought we had more on larger, smaller. Okay, let's just move over here. Any other, so this is a mini stack here. Okay, and then this is a mini
Yeah,
stack
20
here
kind
with
of, yeah,
pine.
20 kind of goes with that first stack too, because it's how do we get more of those small businesses as entrants?
Okay, where's 20?
Well, no, it's on
Oh,
the.
right here, this
Yeah,
one?
Mhm.
Okay, I think these two, okay, you think that goes over with the first, this
Well, I
column
think
over here?
maybe part of it does, it's that, what kind of things can we do to get more small, diverse entrants into the pool? It's a cousin to those.
Yeah, yeah, I think this first stack is really like the verb outreach is what has
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
it's the commonality.
yeah,
This one seems to me to have incentives,
right.
large, yeah.
Oh, I was thinking that 20 is more over under the number 12 and 1. It's more related to that.
Oh, okay, misunderstood you, sorry. Move it over here.
We recognize this, and we recognize this could be overwhelming. So as we narrow it down,
Right.
that's maybe where we would get more input. So we just want to be mindful. I did see Nicole's comments in the chat.
Yeah, I do like the outreach stack though. All
What was
those seem
things-
to be really tapping
was-
on the same.
What was the incentives grouping, Kristen?
This 20, here's 20.
Oh yeah, then 20 should go back over there under incentives.
This one right here, okay.
Nope,
Over here.
it's you're in the right spot. We're just kind of loose there. Okay.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah, so we definitely have a theme around outreach. I think it looks like create environment, ecosystem, process, climate, well, business. So that's about ecosystem, goals, enforcement, incentives. Metric, oh, here's some more metrics right here, 23 and 25. So maybe that theme can be around measures and motivations. And we could move these guys up. This one is loosely affiliated. It's about measuring maturity and then linking, based on maturity level, businesses to the right tools, resources, so that they can get stronger. Like I think this was Nigel's, kind of ties to understand where businesses are, what are they lacking, and then linking them with the right tools and or resources. So that could be a recommendation.
Yeah, and I'm open to the wordsmithing here. The intent was, how do we grow the overall marketplace of companies in the green industry that can provide effective service and solutions to the federal government? So is there a way to leverage what we already have? We've got a number of agencies with technical assistance, tools and services and all the above. How do we identify those companies that are at stage 3 and we need a ton of them at stage 8? How do we identify those companies that need some technical assistance and send them to the right agencies for help in order to grow them so they can provide, those environmental sustainability solutions for the long term and build that marketplace, build our own pool of talent here in the United States?
Okay, I just wanted to capture that on that. Okay. Nigel, are you open to number 21 was very wordsmith down of what you put in the Word document, but would you be open to that this also kind of very much sounds like what we're putting in the mission statement?
So that was specific to, we have a number of different government databases of companies. That the driving broader, more diverse supplier pool, yes, is very similar. But the idea here was, how do we have a specific
see.
pool that can be pointed to? Right? That's where the measurable outcomes. How do we get something that's tangible, that the government can have wherever it's housed, if it's housed at GSA, SBA, wherever it may be, of companies that say, this is the list of capable companies, and they can self-certify whatever it may be. But for agencies, supply, whatever it may be, to go look to find those capable firms in a central repository.
Okay, so like the qualified supplier database?
Right, yes, yes, yes.
Okay,
I agree, Nigel, because even when the government does things like looking for, potential vendors, doing their marketplace research of firms, I'm often curious what they're using for the folks they reach out for the marketplace research, to see if a certain solicitation should be set aside, or, I'm often curious about where those lists come from.
Yeah, so we ran into this quite a bit on the Hill. We often get the folks that say we can't meet our goals because we can't find the firms.
Right.
And we also find, we need dredging companies. Well, we pulled a list and did our own surveys and found 8 dredging companies from around the country that can do the work. Here you go. Right. So how do we create a repository so companies know, if you want to be participating in solar and renewable charging stations, you need to be certified in these things and be on this list, because this is where the government goes to find companies like you to do this work.
yeah, I think I understand it better now. Like, it's the actual tool of the database. If that's no good, it's going to hinder you getting a broader supplier pool. If it's really robust and rigorous, and that's going to help, right? So it's almost like a tool. I'm going to just move that here. So one of the things we thought we could do, I know there's a lot here, but we're trying to streamline this down, was we'll use a different mindset here, is there any of these that we feel, not that they're not good ideas, but we can kind of eliminate and take off the board because maybe they're just out of scope? Maybe we understand more now that we've had speakers and we've learned more. Again, because our charter isn't to boil the ocean, right? It's to kind of refine and figure out what we want to focus on. I don't think there's any wrong thing to focus on. And maybe we can pull some of these off. So what we'd like to do is, and I'll walk you through how to do this, is this little arrow up here, this gray arrow. You click on it and you hit duplicate and you get your own little arrow, and you can drag this and put it on a box that you might think we can parking lot, parlay, move off the board of consideration for now, or actually just move it off the board so we can start to streamline. Like, so for example, it sounds like we have a lot here over on the right. We've got a couple of things that people have grouped. So we'd like to take, it's 4 o'clock. I'd like to take about 5 minutes and let people kind of do that. And then we can have some discussion around that. And then hopefully we can wipe some of these things off the board so we can start to get some clarity. So again, if you hover over the gray arrow and you have the 3 dots, you click on that, hit duplicate, and then you can just drag your arrow to anything you think maybe we can take off the board, and we'll start to clean this up.
So this is Daryl. I have a quick question. And I can't really see all of these because I'm not in the document, but are we gonna look at how existing federal programs are either helping to bring these broader businesses in or are slowing them down? Is that one of these?
Can you say it again, Daryl?
Are we looking at how some of the existing programs like the 8A program, small business programs, how are they helping to drive these businesses forward? Because this is a huge space, and because it's a huge space, that could easily become a bottleneck if we want to bring these firms in. Like, how is the federal government or GSA getting access to these businesses? When you say they have to sign up or register, is it through the 8A program? Is it through the small business program? And how is that program, are those programs helping or slowing down the process? I'm just asking, is that one of these boxes?
I don't know if 12 is kind of like that, addresses that. I'm probably not the most educated on that subject matter. So I'd ask the team. 12 says evaluate and address GSA multiple award schedules, entry challenges for small businesses.
So Nigel,
That may or may not.
Yeah, that's so the multiple award schedules are contract vehicles in order
Right.
for awards to be placed on it, right? That's different from the 8A program, the SDB program. These are business development programs that offer training, technical assistance, and opportunities for growing the capacity of the firm. That's different from companies that are in a specific, I don't even get to the details of NAICS codes, but industry.
Okay.
And what we're trying to do is we're trying to grow this green industry so the government can have, instead of 200 suppliers, they can have 2,000 suppliers of different size, scales, and resources, right? Now, if there are 8A companies, women-owned business, service-disabled veteran, though, when we say the diverse, underutilized firms, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Like that is that group of cohort of firms that the government has already recognized as, you know, you've checked the box, you're qualified to do work in this space. But
I think number 26 covers it.
Multiple works process industry. Oh, scroll back down. 26.
Develop a framework for best practices to support successfully industry partnerships and participation in the procurement process.
I like that.
I think just one comment I'll add to Daryl, to your comment. It does hit, I think 26 does, but the number 12, the thing about the multiple award schedules, that is one that's within GSA's control and purview. So that's an area where we definitely would have an opportunity to do something within GSA, because GSA runs and manages the multiple award schedules program. So that's what makes 12, I think, along the lines of what you're talking about, there is something that will be actionable.
So, okay. I think, and again, we're not carving any of these in stone. We're just trying to refine a little bit here, guys. So if we could go ahead, and I think last time there was two that we actually, one was 11 that we kind of had said was probably outside the scope of our work, given, you know, we've refined our mission statement, we're going to finalize that. But given the scope of our work, an 11 was, how do we empower the right businesses and look for those who truly want to grow in offering sustainable products and services? And there was another one that we had, and again, not that any of these are bad ideas, it's just, scope, think scope, refining, moving forward with recommendations.
This is Mamie. I don't have I can't see the writing, so this is a question. Do we have anything incentivizing large businesses, those that are currently in the space, to grow or to partner with smaller businesses or help
Yes,
create new entrants?
yes, we do. The wording on it is, how do we incentivize larger entities to partner with small businesses and women-owned businesses in sustainable acquisitions?
Okay.
Is that, and again, yeah, kind of hits the spirit of what I think you said.
Okay.
Number 15 seems very specific and possibly out of our scope. It's all the way at the top.
Yeah, I see that. Yep. I agree with that. Here's 15. It's hard to see. I'll read it out loud to the team. How do we build upon current infrastructure without creating more carbon dioxide emissions from the steel industry? Example, electric vehicle infrastructure. So I think from an industry partnership where we're kind of gravitating towards, I think that's beyond what we're going to be focusing on. Any objection to putting an arrow on that? If you can't tell, I'm excited to put arrows on. Any objection? Going once, going twice? Okay, thank you for that input. Anything else? We got 2.
Sure about 16 either for,
Yeah,
you know,
I wasn't
where we've
sure
been
about that
heading.
one.
Yeah. I've also lost in my mind what the other subcommittees are.
There's one on the acquisition workforce. So they're going to
Yeah.
focus on how do you equip, help the acquisition workforce take on these new responsibilities. And the third is on policy. So they'll be advising GSA on policy. Any?
Yeah, 16 definitely looks like more of a policy one.
Yeah.
Question, based on GSA's goals of what they're trying to achieve, what contract area are they going to put most of their contracts out in? Is it green buildings? Is it around the car aspect, your fleet? There are certain contracts that would gain the most, or your focus. So based on the speakers, didn't we get exposure to what areas would give the most bang for the buck on sustainability? And would we not get specific to that for the focus around small, medium, and underrepresented businesses?
I think that's a great question. And I think it might be really almost a segue into where we want to go next with this work we're doing, which would be, once we get these kind of categorized and streamlined, Mamie, is what more information do we need to gather to be able to actually make recommendations in any of these categories? And we're going to refine that down. And that might be one of them. Like, is GSA going to prioritize contract vehicles to drive sustainable? I think that might be a question we ask if contracting vehicles is something we decide to focus on, if that makes sense. I don't recall hearing the presenters say which one over another. Boris, did you?
There wasn't, and Jeff, if you're still on the call, I was going to ask to see if you had any thoughts on that question, because we had fast presentation. We also have Maria, and there wasn't necessarily a specific sector that we were looking at.
I thought there was.
But I don't know if, Jeff, you wanted to add some insights into that.
Sure, Boris. At a macro level, GSA has made commitments to zero emission federal buildings and a zero emission fleet. Towards that end, we have established a suite of contracts to help us with EV infrastructure. there is funding in the Inflation Reduction Act for us to use towards the greening of federal buildings. So clearly, part of where we do need to focus is on that building community and in figuring out how do we reach and communicate and get the right messaging so that that vendor base understands what's involved in being a federal contractor and being able to make the business case in and around, hey, what does it mean to be green and sustainability and sustainable? How do I understand that? How do I know what a GHG is? How do I convince my board of directors it's worth investing in those types of issues? So yeah, there's a clear set of projects that in GSA operations we are focused on. Second, GSA plays a government-wide role in establishing vehicles for other agencies, such as you talked about earlier on the federal supply schedules. So that's GSA's chance to influence other federal agencies, other federal buyers in creating greater incentives for the green and sustainable products. The policy team, I think, is looking at some of those types of issues. But in terms of reaching the vendor base who have those solutions, encouraging them to participate and encourage them to even understand what's involved, that's more where we're looking for help from this subcommittee. So it's two, it's our direct spend on areas such as green and federal buildings, and then our influence in setting contracts for other agencies to use. Does that help?
And so that answers my question, because I was wondering if we could put something in where we recommend a pledge or policies to other partner agencies as it relates to sustainability.
I would love you to hand those types of recommendations to the policy team.
Okay.
And more to ask you, what do we do in directly working with our industry partners?
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, we could have them sort of pledge too. I mean, I think there are a lot of ways that we can work with are you talking about private industries and other vendors that could bring in more of these underutilized businesses?
Exactly.
Okay. Yes, there's a lot of ways to do that. And so, yes, I'd be happy to be engaged to give you some ideas on how to do that.
Somebody said, is that 16, explore the use of a declarative statement from contractors that certifies that they meet selection criteria that attest to their well, that's a little different, I think. I think that's a little different. But I just took the word pledge, Mamie, and I'm wondering if that can't kind of fall under measures and motivations. We have kind of a group that's about metrics and motivations, how large helps small, how, so I think I will put it there so it doesn't get lost. I have the word pledge, and we can flesh that out a little bit. Okay. Hey, so I came across a few more just for the group. I think I want to read these three to see if these, number 13 is how might we being the subcommittee, ensure that firms that participate in sustainable procurement are viable firms that wish to grow their business. Kind of, I feel a little bit that that's a little bit outside our scope, and that, but I'd like to see if there's any support for this one or any objection to putting it in out of scope. Any comments? Any support?
So for me, it doesn't seem out of scope, because we do want to encourage firms to come into the fold. So it doesn't seem out of scope. If it's hard for me to see the screen, so I don't know exactly where it goes.
Okay. Yeah,
Maybe
I don't
the
know
whole
how
thing
might
about
we.
sustainability is growing these underutilized firms. And so,
I guess I was reading the second part of it.
okay,
You know, are viable firms that wish to grow their business. Like, I don't know if we have any influence over, or maybe that's just an assumption they do want to grow their business, but I find
Yes.
that.
It
you know
almost
what I
makes
mean?
like we're
that's-
screening them, like.
Yeah.
You're
Oh.
here, but do you really want to grow your business? Are we
Yeah, you know what I mean?
judging
And I don't know
them,
if
their
that's-
desires?
I think it's more of us driving sustainable businesses.
Well,
Um,
isn't that partly covered maybe in number 11? Which is talking about empowering the right businesses and look for those who truly want to grow in offering sustainable products and services. Which is over, it's all the way over on the
Yeah,
left
we
side
have
of the
this
screen,
kind of,
on the bottom. Yeah.
again, it's very similar. I guess the wording that's kind of throwing me off is that who truly want to grow in offering, I don't know, like some of the adjective terms are kind of throwing me off. I agree whoever said it, like how are we going to gauge that they really want to grow their business? You know, I think we're going to have metrics, and I think there's going to be policy guidelines, and it's about us helping businesses maybe be able to meet those understand those guidelines,
Right.
understand how to get resources to be able to meet those guidelines. But I don't want to be like grading. I don't know. They just kind of struck me as funny.
Yeah, everything
Again,
else we seem to do is trying to broaden the tent and widen the pool. And this one seems to be, well, are you really ready for, or you know, do you really have the desire? That one seems like more of a screening than a broadening.
okay.
We also have comments,
So
Nicole.
yeah, absolutely.
She said that, you know, she think that this was Nigel's comment, and she see that 13, 21, and 9 got separated, and she sees them all as being linked. We need a broader repository that is also viable. She's unable to speak because she's in a very noisy environment, but that's what she saw.
And
And
Nigel's, but
and then she, you know, 13 and 21 may be similar. We also have a public comment that we'll talk about in public comment, but that's what we see in the chat right now.
okay, great, thanks.
And she did ask
So
to explain.
I'm sorry for I didn't catch the last part.
Yeah, she asked Nigel to explain, and that Nigel, you may be able to explain to Noah, Nicole, either direct or in the chat box if it's.
Right. Thanks, Farad. So yes, where she was going was right on point to combine those, because the intent is the government needs a larger, a broader group of companies in order to rely upon, in order to have what they define as a resilient supplier base for this green industry. Once we identify them and bring them to the table, how do we ensure that those companies are able to grow in capacity and capabilities? That's why we're bringing them into these technical assistance programs and so forth. So remember, the end goal is still how to give the government more flexibility and a resilient supply chain. And then the second half of that is, what does that supply chain look like? And how do we give it to them for the long term? But yes, combining those is exactly where I think we would end up.
Okay, so I drew a circle around those. I hopefully, and even the innovative is kind of, that ties into the mission, I think. For the group, I don't want you to think I'm just being usurping here, but I put the same sticky in twice, so I'm going to delete one. Okay, so interesting, really good conversation. I think what we want to try and do is refine this even further. And so we're going to move off our arrows and we're going to move towards green dots and triangles. And this is where it gets hard. So I think you can, if we drew a circle around, we can treat that as one. Boris, you kind of agree versus individual stickies? It just,
Yeah, it'll get messy. However, I think, well, here's my thought. To help you really narrow this down, I think if people start zooming in to specific stickies, it's going to make it easier to narrow it down to kind of your top priority areas. So I would say, I know it's going to get busy, but you can copy and paste those dots. And any of those of you who are on the Jamboard, and I would say, you know, whichever instructions you were going to give Kristen for the voting, but I would recommend you going to the sticky level as much as possible versus the category.
okay. Yeah, I kind of feel the other way, but we can open that up. I guess this group here, this one that looks like a shoe, is about broadening the, being purposeful and broadening, you know, the pool. So I don't know if we can just put a label on that. I'm just
We
trying
call
to see
it
what the
expansion. There we go.
I like that expansion, the great expansion. We have measures of motivation, outreach. We have expansion. This one down in the bottom, the circle is really specific to the pilot. I don't know. This one kind of got buried in there. I'm just going to move this one to the side so people can read it. I don't.
It'll be in the
That.
morning.
Oh, somebody's off mute.
We don't have a more specific time, but the delivery team will call you 30 minutes prior
Oh.
to arrival. Don't worry, if you
Okay.
won't be home, our team will deliver and send you know, without.
Oops, somebody's got to check their mute.
Did you remember to leave any lock gates? You'll be blocking access to the generator located unlocked. If there are any gate code comments or questions, please call.
Right. Expanding the pool, express the goal, design over framework. This is metrics, good.
So I have a question. So the shoe, it looks like there are competing factors in there because one is encouraging or driving innovative businesses in the green space. And the other ones, two of them, 13, and I think that's 1, or is that 11?
11.
Okay. Is more about underutilized businesses becoming more sustainable, being sustainable businesses through procurement policies, or, you know, how procurement has changed. And then 21, to me, it's just expanding the number of firms that are included. So to me, those are 3 different things. And do they belong somewhere else? Some of them?
Yeah. I think 21, Nigel kind of explained it. It's really about, is the supplier database is as a tool, because folks look to that, like to give business to companies, is really trying to make that better, more broader, expanded, and that would qualify more folks to get in front of folks that are making acquisition type decisions. You know, if they're not in that database, they don't get seen, I guess, is how I kind of interpreted it. But Nigel, go ahead.
I don't think they're mutually exclusive. I think
I don't
instead of
either.
looking at it instead of pillars, let's look at it more like a chevron chart. First, you need to identify the firms that are interested and capable of participating, even at the most basic levels. Then, in order to make sure that they're able to compete in what the green economy is going to be 10, 15, 20 years from now, and can be a part of that robust, diverse supplier base for the government, they need additional skills in order to get to that third part of the chevron chart. So the same way that capacity building is a part of the other programs, whether, you know, business development programs that the government offers for contractors that want to work with the federal agencies, we're thinking the same thing, right? So wherever they are in that lifeline, in that chevron chart, let's identify that and give them the skills necessary. The engineers that run a solar panel company may have the capability and knowledge to do electric vehicle charging stations, but their company may not have the capacity to do that. Well, how do we give them that? And they give them that either through technical assistance and training with the federal government, or mentor protege type programs with large companies that do have that. And then you can have those partnerships that can bring them along in order to grow their capacity. So they're not necessarily mutually exclusive. They're just more on a life cycle vision versus standalone entities.
So I guess the word expanding pool, to me, I guess it sort of, it sounds like you're expanding the number of businesses and not just the capacity. So maybe it's expanding capacity or expanding the resources. So you do have this resilience that you were talking about earlier.
They need both. Those who are already in the space need greater capacity of capabilities, right? So they need the ability to take on larger projects, larger work, more complex work, more diverse types of environmental sustainable solutions. And then we also need new entrants. We need more companies participating in this space so they can continue to grow the pool of talent, right? So the same way a company has internal talent pool, you need your management training, you need training your existing staff, but you also need to constantly recruit new talent into your company. Just think of it that way with regards to business for the federal government.
Think of it as things, these stickies, these are possible ways that we could approach expanding the pool. They could be very different, but the commonality is they could help. If we focused on some of these, it might help expand the pool. So again, these are kind of like loose affiliations to try and help us get to kind of a refinement. All right, so what we'd like to do next is we'd like you to pick, this is the hardest part, you know, you gotta take your green circles and you get 2 votes on what you think is most important. And I know this is not easy. We went through it yesterday with Nicole's group and Daryl's group, and there was a lot of going back and forth, but and I'm open towards you can put it on the sticky, or you can put it towards the top of a grouping, I think is okay. But and we can go from there. And then what's left is we won't do the triangle was going to be, this is a great idea, but we're not going to look at it right now. But let's try and get everybody to kind of get what you think is our subcommittee's top priorities, and we'll see where it lands. And 2 votes, we're on the honor system about where you put your stickies.
So I have a quick question for someone who's having a hard time seeing this. I see measures and motivations, I see outreach, and I see expanding capacity. What are the other ones? So there's a blue box up in the left corner.
Yeah, that is the 2 that are in there are evaluate and address GSA multiple award schedules, entry challenges small business, and examine why there is a reduction in number of contractors in doing business with the government. So it's a bit of a random affiliation. So I don't know what we would call that. The one in the middle seems to be more about exploratory. Maybe Farad, you can talk. I think you kind of built this pillar here, the one in the middle.
I'm sorry, I was coloring. I was putting my dots.
The one in the middle, the number 4, 26, and 19.
I didn't build that one.
Oh, you didn't? I thought you did. I'm sorry.
No. I built the one on the one on the under base where I just voted for that one.
I think that one could be best practices, maybe.
Okay. There's one then on best practices, like funneling. Let me add a
Yeah.
Can you add that?
Yeah, I could do
Who's
that.
that?
Yeah.
Okay, I gotta vote. I don't want to run out of time.
No.
And then we can,
If you are not on the board, go ahead and put your votes if you can identify either category or a number, a sticky number, and I will make the copies to the dust and I will put those in there for you. So if you want to go ahead and chat, but you can just chat me directly to Boris.
okay.
And
Nicole
then,
had a,
yeah,
This
chat me
is-
directly and I'll take care of
Nicole,
that.
yeah, Nicole thinks
So-
that capacity building and outreach should go together.
So this is Daryl. I'm sorry, I can't chat or get on the board, but I would vote for measures and motivations and expanding the capacity.
Okay, Kristen, you want to put those on?
yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
And then Nicole had a suggestion of, would we want to consider combining expanding capacity with outreach?
I favor that.
Yeah.
Because I was just putting a message in the chat, is that you
Mhm.
can't expand unless you find them first. So it's kind of a 1-2 kind of, at least in my view,
Yeah, I think it's a
operation.
good idea. I think it's a pretty good idea, but let's hear from, I don't know how to do, we can do it after, but if we wanted to pull that in, it's because it's about engaging, education, building capacity. I think they're all very similar.
Yeah, and this is Kimberly here. I mean, I like the idea of the expanding capacity and the outreach tool. I hate to do this, but I'm wondering, does the best practice actually fit in that same bucket? Because the
Now
best
we're gonna be back
practices-
where we started, Kimberly.
Yeah, because the best practices are all about allowing success for those new or potential applicants. And
So Kimberly, let me ask you a question. When we say best practices, for whom are they the best practices? The GSA or the companies that we're trying to get engaged?
so this would, at least in my mind, this would be like, if the GSA has identified this is what makes a good application and a good applicant through, and they're successful in their process, right? Then they would be able to develop guidance and tools that others can model. So new entrants could actually model to be able to be sustainable in the process.
Right. I mean, I concur with that completely. The expanding requires, I think, as you're saying, them to have access or exposure to best practices.
Yeah. And so maybe, I mean, I'm probably the single vote right now for the best practices section, but maybe that is like, those are recommendations, right? For how you do better outreach and how you actually expand the capacity in a pool.
Right, that you're getting into tactics. That you're right, Kimberly. I think
Yeah.
you're on the right track. That's almost like a tactic.
So I totally agree with that. I mean, I feel that the outreach is a part of building capacity. But if you just have outreach by itself, there's usually not enough engagement to even build capacity. There's always meetings and outreach where you're telling these firms about stuff, but nothing that helps them get a contract or get procured. So to me, it's the beginning of capacity building.
Yeah.
If
Oh, yeah.
I jump in. So Daryl, would you say that outreach is really engagement?
I would say outreach is it's talking to firms, but it's not really engaging with firms. Because in order to really engage with firms, then they're speaking back, and they also are having an opportunity to really to procure with the agency, which does not happen. There are all these outreach events, and you know how many times we just heard that from Nigel. We tell these big firms to do outreach, and they come back and they say, I did outreach, but they don't really try to engage and find the people. They're just doing outreach. They just are pushing the paper, checking the box, I'm doing this job and I send it out to all these firms and I hope they never get back to me. And if they do, I don't have to get back to them. So outreach is just one way of going out. It's not an engagement. Engagement is where you really are trying to work with the company. I mean, that's the bottom line of what we're trying to do here is make sure these companies get work.
So
Wait, may I just quick? So I agree with you completely. What I meant to say was, should we change outreach to engagement? That's what it really should be, rather than just as you said.
Or having both. outreach
Or
and
having
Well,
both.
you do need both. You do need both.
I
but-
think, yeah, David, and I think what got me is what we heard last meeting, but if I could offer, maybe these three do go together, and to Nigel's point about the Chevron chart, but maybe it's like, we want to prioritize outreach to, to engage, to expand, right? So it's outreach with a purpose so that we can engage, which means two-way. I heard, and get people equipped to be able to get the contracts to expand the pool. And so maybe these three little clumps do go together. Clump one here on the right is, I think, I'm forgetting her name, but she said, we don't even know who to talk to. So we need to have outreach to figure out who, and then how we engage with them to expand the pool. And maybe we're making recommendations specific, but maybe we may also be making recommendations on best practice on how to do this across a very broad industry supplier pool, like a framework. And that's what this middle one has, like the framework and best practices to engage across all of industry. So I just offer that maybe that's how we could phrase this: outreach to engage, to expand.
So I'd like to make a point, piggybacking on Daryl's comment about outreach. Outreach, engage is one thing, but it's all about accountability. And I'm not sure where that goes, because you can do the outreach, and then what are you measuring on the outreach? Are you measuring how many businesses participated in the outreach event? Or are you measuring how many businesses that participated, but also how many businesses that were able to connect the dots, acquire contracts, form strategic partnerships, teaming partnerships, etc. So that's the missing part in a lot of these outreach events, is no accountability from the government to say that if you're really trying to help these small and minority businesses gain better access to opportunities, how are you ensuring that these businesses, based on your outreach or your technical assistant activities, how are you ensuring that these businesses are actually being acquiring contracts? I'm not sure where
so all I would just say is, as a minority business, I cannot stand outreach because it does absolutely nothing. And I think we should just totally strike the word. The word should be engagement. Engagement makes you accountable because you're truly engaging. And we can write parameters around the word engagement and what that means to engage with a company. But that's much stronger than just outreach. I just think we should get rid of that word.
And it's time.
I got rid of it. I deleted it. But I think the point here, though, is like, these are kind of like affinities of what we're trying to accomplish. So I appreciate that discussion. Like, we don't want to just offer information. We want to engage. And this whole concept of this cluster over here, for expanding it, what is the outcome? The outcome is we want an expanded, more diverse supplier pool that helps drive sustainability and climate goals within the federal government marketplace, right? So we want to do both. Okay, so we kind of have two big clusters, and I like the idea that best practices and frameworks to do this across industry could be tied to that. I don't know how others feel. But we definitely got a lot of votes here in the measures and motivations, which is how you incentivize, how you actually measure, and around engagement for expansion. Okay, again, nothing carved in stone, but if we start to acquiesce around these two concepts, engagements to drive expansion and measures and motivations, holding folks accountable, the government accountable, large businesses accountable, whoever that might be. You know, the next question, and we'll just spend a few minutes on this and then we're going to open it up for public input, would be to think about what more information would we want to gather around measures and motivations, these things, and I'll get this cleaned up so that you can look at it and think about it, and this engagement to expand that could help inform us and help the GSA team and the GAP FAC team here help us identify some speakers that can come in and speak to us more about these specific areas that would help us curate recommendations to go forward with. That's kind of how we were thinking about progressing forward. If we had time, we would have whiteboarded that, but we have an administrative meeting before the big full meeting, so we'll be able to kind of pull this together. We will have to do, just based on time, some iteration electronically. So I'd ask that we, stay close to the emails and getting in and out of the docs. Now you'll be able to come back in and get into this as well. Everything is available on the shared. So just to kind of summarize, I want to thank everybody for the engagement. I know this is not, it's not easy virtually, and then we'll work on the visuals so that it's easier for folks to see. But we did make progress on our mission statement, and we will try and refine that down. And then we'll probably just work that electronically. And then we will take these kind of two buckets, clean them up, and ask you to think about what more information would you want to have around these things? Who would you want to hear from? So that we can curate a speaker list to come in and help inform us to refine some recommendations. So before we open it for public input, we'll spend the last 15 minutes doing that. Let me just pause and see if there's any other comments from the group.
Hey, I would just like to thank everybody for really getting engaged. That was a big thing to really get us to this point so we can start moving forward with this work. So thank you.
Okay, with that, let's go ahead and open it up for public input. If you're on from the public, you can input via the chat. And Farad, I think we had one there, or you can raise your hand on the Zoom and we'll call upon you.
Yeah,
and
we had one from Josh Jacobs. He was he's a part of the public and not official member of the GAP, but one thing he was interested in a couple of different areas of the mission sticky notes, but didn't see specifically mentioned was most of the suppliers in the federal government are not sustainable green businesses. They're businesses that provide a product or a service that may or may not meet federal sustainable green requirements. What I think the GAP FAC could be good at is help connect organizations that have sustainable expertise with all types of suppliers, current, disadvantaged, small, large, want to, so they can implement sustainable concepts with their current procurement services. And I know we covered that, so I just wanted to make sure that we read that out loud for the public comment.
Hey, Farad,
Josh is
there.
also here, so he could speak.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, Farad, thank you. It came across better in your voice than my typing. I did notice it, and again, number 24 I ended up being able to see the sticky note as you guys went out. So number 24, I believe, kind of captures this, as long as it's understood that it's not just sharing governmental expertise, right? Maybe connecting some of these individual organizations to each other through you folks. Again, there are many, many suppliers of the US federal government that do really great sustainable things, but there's a great many that, it's very confusing to them. So how to connect some folks that understand the sustainability world to the others, I think is an incredibly important and valuable tool. And I think it was captured in number 24, as long as it's understood that that's not, just give education from the government or just connect people with other government expertise. It's actually connecting some of these people to each other, external government. So thank you.
Thank you for your input. Very good.
Are there any other people in the public comment that would like to say something either on?
And Maria, I see that you're there, and Fred, I know this is kind of touched a lot in your area, but I don't know if you had any other comments or any insights just from the conversation you heard, and not to put you on the spot, Maria.
Well, no, actually, this was an education for me, so I really appreciate it. And I mean, I am so excited because you guys get it and you're on point and you're working through the issues. And so I would just throw out there, if I know you said you were going to bucket some of these and then ask for speakers. So in any way I can help with that, fine. Please, through Boris, reach out. I think there was a question that from last week or whenever we presented. Katie and I met this morning and we talked about, and she in particular, because she deals with a lot of the FAC aspects of sustainability, just thought there was so much expertise in this group on that topic, and she would welcome an opportunity to be able to dig in some more in a different forum. So I wanted to throw that out there. I'll talk some more about it with Boris and our internal planning team, but I just wanted to throw that out there. That's something that we think could really add value in also helping us to understand what we need more, so then we can more help you to define the recommendation. So if more to come on that, but thank you very much.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. You saw it. We discussed that a little bit after the presentations, like, oh, we'd love to go back and talk some more once we refine. So I think we'll look for an opportunity to do that for sure. Is Jeff still on? Does he want to provide any comments?
Don't have a whole lot to add. I think you had a very good conversation. You're working through some particularly tough issues. Just thank you, appreciate the progress, and happy to see you all continue and keep sharpening, keep focusing. But really productive day today. Thank you.
Good. Thanks, Jeff, and thanks for joining us and providing input and some clarification. That's really helpful. I believe we also have Troy on via phone and Cassius. Any comments for the subcommittee?
Yeah, hi everybody. This is Troy. First of all, I want to say Happy New Year to everybody, and it's great to see you back and so engaged today. I thought it was a really great discussion. A lot of it brings to mind just how important words are, and so I appreciate all the thought that's going into being very careful about choosing the words that we're using in the mission statement and the priorities, and think that those discussions, as Jeff said, is really helping to hone in the direction and initial priorities of the group. So again, just thought it was a very great discussion, and I look forward to our full committee meeting next week too, when all the subcommittees will be sharing their work so far. And I think each subcommittee is going to enjoy hearing what the other is doing and help the full committee drive ahead. So thank you so much.
Great. Thanks, Troy, so much for joining us. I'm not sure if Cassius is on.
He was on. I think he dropped off, but he was on for a conversation. He was on it.
Okay, great. All right. Well, listen, hard work. I know this is hard work, and refining is always harder than adding more. And I think as we move forward, we'll really be able to pick up some speed as we start to refine, get some more information relative to these more specific areas, and move forward. I'll send out some information on the administrative meeting. Those who can join would appreciate it, but understand that your schedules are pretty full. And then what we'll do is we'll make sure we iterate electronically, any updates to documents and things like that. We will be working, I'm sure, on some sort of output document for the full committee meeting. So I'll keep everybody posted on that. So with that, I'll just open it up. Farhad, any closing comments? And then we'll open it up to the team.
No, thank you.
Anything from the team? You guys are all great. I appreciate your expertise and your engagement immensely. So. Okay, Stephanie, I'm going to hand it back to you.
All right. Well, this concludes the third Industry Partnerships Subcommittee meeting. The next virtual Industry Partnership Subcommittee meeting will be January 18th between 3 and 5. Boris, any additional closing remarks?
No, just I think everything has been said. Good job today. Lots of work. We are doing a full committee meeting on the 12th next week. And as Kristen said, we'll provide a little more guidance on what's expected at that meeting. So you'll get to present all of your great work to the full committee at the 12th. So that's all I have, but good job.
Okay, we again would like to thank all of you for your engagement, and a reminder to the public that the comments and suggestions can be submitted through regulation.gov. At this time, the meeting is now adjourned.